Hi, I'm Kate McKinnon.
America Ferrera has reportedly accused Blake Lively of sabotaging her reputation on set, a revelation that has stunned many given America's long-standing reputation for authenticity, intelligence, and quiet strength. Known for avoiding scandal and steering clear of tabloid feuds, America has always been respected for letting her work speak louder than any controversy. That's why when reports surfaced suggesting she had accused Blake Lively of undermining her during a major film project, people took notice. The claims gained traction after a recent roundtable discussion about Latino representation in Hollywood, where America was asked about moments of betrayal or tension throughout her career. With characteristic grace, she described a situation involving a supposed ally who became competitive, manipulative, and quietly ruthless behind the scenes. Though she didn't mention any names, her description left little doubt about who she was referring to. Insiders quickly identified the co-star as Blake Lively, the same colleague who, according to America, subtly redirected attention to herself, distorted on-set dynamics, and spread misleading stories to the media portraying America as difficult to work with. What makes the story so striking is that it contrasts sharply with Blake's polished public image as Hollywood's charming it girl. If the claims are true, it paints a picture of calculated ambition hiding behind a flawless smile. For fans and industry observers alike, the incident has peeled back another layer of the carefully crafted facade, revealing the cracks in an image long built on perfection and control.
No, you'd be surprised how much hasn't happened.
Greta and I talked about it, and we tweaked things here and there. And
At the end of the first season, I was like, okay, well, what happens?
In the early 2000s and 2010s, America Ferrera and Blake Lively were cast together in what was marketed as a groundbreaking, female-driven ensemble film. On paper, it was the perfect pairing, America bringing thoughtful advocacy and cultural depth, while Blake embodied Hollywood glamour and mainstream appeal. The project was pitched as a celebration of diversity, female friendship, and empowerment, but insiders say the on-set reality told a very different story. America had been promised creative input, particularly in shaping her character's portrayal of Latin identity. She arrived well-prepared, armed with research, notes, and culturally authentic ideas. At first, Blake appeared encouraging. She nodded through meetings, praised America publicly, and even called her a brilliant collaborator in interviews. But once production began, that supportive energy allegedly vanished. Blake's demeanor grew distant, her encouragement turned passive-aggressive, and subtle resistance began to take root. Suddenly, America's ideas were dismissed as too specific, her dialogue labeled too regional, and her presence in key scenes criticized as disrupting the film's visual flow. Crew members later revealed that Blake's team had quietly pushed for script changes, specifically targeting scenes that highlighted America's emotional depth or cultural significance. The most disheartening part was that Blake didn't address any of it directly. Instead, she allegedly maneuvered everything from behind the scenes, using influence and charm to reshape the narrative in her favor while keeping her image spotless. What was meant to be a film about solidarity became, for America, a painful lesson in how power dynamics can turn empowerment into exclusion.
America Ferrera. Greta, your director, Margot Robbie, there you are. Was that fun?
What was the most challenging scene for you to get right? Because
America Ferrera began noticing subtle shifts in the atmosphere on set. Crew members who had once greeted her warmly grew distant, and notes from the director became increasingly rigid. Even studio executives, who had initially welcomed her input, started acting indifferent. At first, America wondered if she was at fault. Perhaps she was too vocal, too ambitious, or simply too visible. But then a press leak made everything clear. An anonymous industry blog ran a blind item describing a television actress turned activist as being difficult and overly political during production. Though no names were mentioned, the description pointed directly to America. The timing was telling. The article appeared just days after she had advocated for a culturally accurate rewrite of a key scene, one that Blake Lively had quietly opposed. Behind the scenes, it became apparent that Blake's PR team was planting narratives to paint America as problematic, not because she truly was, but because she dared to take up space. A producer later admitted off the record that Blake's handlers carefully shaped the media coverage to spotlight Blake's evolution from style icon to serious dramatic actress, leaving no room for America's contributions. By the time the film reached post-production, America had been largely erased from the story she had helped shape. A pivotal scene of raw, emotional honesty about cultural identity and assimilation was cut entirely, replaced by a new monologue for Blake's character that felt hollow and disconnected. Shockingly, many of the phrases in that monologue had come from America herself during her script consultations, yet the moment belonged solely to Blake. When America questioned the changes, she was told they were creative restructuring, though insiders confirmed Blake had extended her influence into the editing bay, exercising final approval over her arc. The press tour delivered the final blow. Blake dominated every feature, while America appeared only sporadically, often in cropped photos or alongside generic pull quotes. Blake publicly celebrated female collaboration, empowerment, and shared strength, while America, sitting quietly in the background, watched as a carefully constructed narrative of solidarity was sold to the world, a story from which she had been used, marginalized, and ultimately discarded. The entire experience left her stunned, revealing the stark contrast between public image and the reality of the power dynamics behind the camera.
Gina Rodriguez, Jane the Virgin.
People to view our show, helped us with more seasons of our show, but allowed...
America Ferrera remained silent for years, maintaining professionalism as she moved on to new projects and built a career rooted in integrity and thoughtful storytelling. Yet the scars from her experiences lingered. It wasn't until a roundtable interview years later that she finally spoke out, carefully, deliberately, and without anger or gossip. She recounted the betrayal she had experienced, framing it with honesty rather than outrage. "I've worked with women who talk about empowerment publicly, but make sure you never outshine them privately," she said. "Sometimes the people who say the most about uplifting others are the first to silence you." At the table, the other actresses fell quiet, their expressions revealing recognition, shared experience, and a quiet frustration that had never made headlines. America didn't need to name names. The story spoke for itself. The interviews sparked an immediate and polarized response within the industry. Those who had worked closely with America voiced support. A prominent casting director tweeted, "She's telling the truth. We all saw it. We just weren't allowed to say it." Meanwhile, a producer from the original film posted cryptically, noting, "The quietest ones always carry the heaviest truths." In contrast, Blake Lively's team reacted swiftly, filling social media feeds with nostalgic photos, quotes about motherhood, and updates on upcoming projects. But the public perception had already begun to shift. Fans and critics revisited the film, noticing key scenes that had been edited out, while articles re-examined the narrative surrounding its production. Slowly, the carefully curated image of harmony and collaboration was unraveling. The silence that had long protected Blake's behind-the-scenes behavior was finally starting to crack, revealing a more complicated, less polished story of ambition, power, and the hidden costs of keeping quiet.
Greta and I talked about it, and we tweaked things here and there. And
other actresses began to come forward, not with outright accusations, but with revealing anecdotes. A rising star recalled Blake Lively having her scenes cut during a guest spot on television. A veteran actress hinted that Blake fiercely protects her spotlight as if it were essential to her survival. A Latina writer recounted pitching a project Blake had initially shown interest in, only to be edged out once development began. None of these incidents were illegal, and none alone would make headlines, but together they formed a pattern of subtle, strategic sabotage wrapped in charm. Throughout all this, America Ferrera remained silent. She didn't need to respond. Her measured, calm, and precise words had already done the work. She had exposed the truth, and Hollywood was paying attention. Studios began reevaluating casting dynamics, and diversity consultants were consulted retroactively. Publicists began cautioning new clients about performers who championed surface-level empowerment while undermining those around them. The industry started shifting, slowly but noticeably. America never sought revenge. Her goal was clarity and truth. By speaking out, even years later, she didn't just reveal Blake Lively's alleged tactics, she illuminated a system that rewards performative inclusion while penalizing authentic representation. Blake may still walk red carpets and secure lucrative brand deals, but the sheen of perfection is fading. Now, when she speaks about empowerment, audiences are asking, empowerment for whom? America Ferrera didn't just endure the sabotage, she outlasted it. She emerged with grace, purpose, and her voice fully intact. The industry, long accustomed to curated narratives and invisible power plays, is watching differently now. What was once whispered in closed doors and anonymous blogs is now part of a broader reckoning. Hollywood is seeing clearly, and for America, the fight wasn't about fame or revenge. It was about truth, integrity, and holding the mirror up to a system that desperately needed it. Her resilience has set a new standard, proving that enduring dignity and measured courage can outshine even the brightest manufactured image.